Hello guys, Assalamu alaikum. We are all set to go live. We are live. And today's topic is dating. I'm super excited. My friend Kevin is coming forward and we're going to be talking about dating. How it's going to work out and what are the roadblocks, why it's become complicated, whether it is complicated, what are the things we all need to do. And let's just hop in, guys. Let me bring him in and we will take it from there. Okay, we're all.
Hello. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. You want to try calling me again? Call me again. I just hear a buzz. Call me again. Can you hear me now? All I got is like a ringing beep sound. Like I'm not hearing you. I don't know. Say something?
Hi.
There you are.
I
There you
guess
are. Okay.
my hands free is not working.
Yeah. It just goes, it's beeping.
Oh my god.
It's so good to see you.
It is. How you been?
I've been very good. How about you?
I'm doing good. How
I'm
was your
looking forward.
weekend?
It was good. We had Thanksgiving out here this past
Yeah.
week in the United States. So, some people get together with toxic family members that they would rather not see and pretend to get along and eat food and, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Right. Well, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Kev, we're gonna talk about dating. I really
Yes.
found this really nice quote, and I wanted to start the conversation from there.
Okay.
So the quote goes like, date someone because you see a future, not because you want to see if it would work out.
Yes. Yes. True.
Great for us now.
True. Yeah. That's true.
That's true.
Is that a question or a comment? What is
So I shared the quote, and I wanted you to share how you feel around the quote.
how I feel about the quote? Yeah.
Yes.
So absolutely, dating is about. It should be about seeing a future. Well, look, here's the truth, because we're adults, right? So it comes down to knowing yourself well enough to know what you want. Maybe you don't want a future. Maybe with a person. Maybe you really just want to go out and have a good time. Maybe you want to go and you want to have a one-night stand. Maybe you want to have sex. Maybe you want to experience something. So it's just about where you're at in your life and what you want. If you want a future, well then, yeah, you have to go for that, and you have to date according to what that looks like. If you want a good time, the rules are different. You don't have to, if you just want a good time, you don't have to observe for things like loyalty and commitment and financial responsibility and longevity. You're just going for a good time. But if you want a commitment, if you want a future, well, you better know what that future looks like in your mind, and then you have to make the rules about observing for that. Does that make sense? At least that's my thoughts on it. That's what I help people try to understand.
That's really interesting. So, Kevin, tell me, if somebody's dating, they're dating just for fun, they're not looking for commitment, do you think they should still be observing the red flags, or they should not be really?
Well, always observe for red flags, no matter what. No matter what. I mean, even if you want to have a good time, you want to make sure you're not with a psychopathic serial killer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I would say that, let's say, I'm just hypothetically speaking, let's say you're a woman, and this happens, a woman that hits their 40s or even their 50s. They've been married, for example. They've been down that route. It didn't work out. They tried love and it failed. And they just want to go have a good time, and they're not looking for somebody to come in and support them and whatever else, or even longevity. So these types of situations, they typically turn into what's called the cougar or whatever, right? They'll go after a younger guy, for example. Why? Well, not because they want someone to take care of them, or they're really even looking at a future, but they just want the young person and the right now dude. But they're still going to make sure that he's nice and he's safe and he's not going to be a weirdo and a creep. And the woman probably wants to make sure she has some power or control over the situation and how it goes. So you always want to look for red flags, and guys do the same. Men should be doing the same thing too. If a man wants a good time, you're still going to observe for signs of absolute craziness that you want to avoid. And you want to be able to make that, I think with anything, with any type of relationship, you're observing and you're looking to make the agreements, whether it's spoken or not. You're kind of negotiating without negotiating. A lot of that is just by being honest. This is who I am. This is what I want. If you're honestly saying, I'm not looking for a commitment right now, but we can hang out, that says a lot, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But the thing is that you have to be honest with yourself, because you can't say, I'm not looking for a commitment. I'm just here to have a good time, yet still want a commitment in your heart. You're going to get hurt. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And sometimes that's what people do. Yeah.
Why do you, I've read so much about dating and I've heard so many stories. Why do you think there is such a huge gap where the dating is failing? Like, is it the gap of not having effective communication, and people just putting themselves out there without even knowing what they want? What do you think is causing so much of failures in the dating world?
Lack of honesty. It's people not being honest with what they want.
Do you think that it's honest, is that they don't even know what they want?
Right. So I think honesty doesn't begin with somebody else. Honesty begins with the self. So if you don't know what you want, then you're not being honest with yourself. So I would say that if you don't know what you want, well, there's reasons why you feel like you have to lie to yourself. Maybe you've never felt like you could be honest about what you really want in life. Maybe you feel like you have to do things a certain way because of your culture or your religion or what people have told you. And so you've been dishonest with yourself and what you really want. And to be fair, you really don't know what you really want until you've lived enough life and experienced some pain and have gone through situations that you're like, okay, I don't want that again, you know. These things collectively all turn you into who you are, and then you can be honest about that. And at some point, you should be able to be honest about the type of relationship you want.
Interesting, interesting. So, now, do you think that dating gets harder or does it get easier with age?
It should get easier.
Oh,
It
and why do
should.
you?
It should be easier
Okay.
because again, you know, when you're younger, you don't know who you are or what you want, so you have freedom to a lot of times just experiment. You know, so young people are constantly, you know, meeting people at school, kissing out, making out under the bleachers of the football stadium. You know what I mean? You have a lot of your first experiences in your youth, right? As you get older, you should know what you like and what you don't like. You know, you've gone through enough heartbreaks. You should be able to spot out the things and the warning signs and the red flags. And you should know how to pace yourself, again, depending on what you want. It should be easier. I would say that if it's not easier as you get older, you're still having a hard time being honest with yourself and what you really want, and then articulating that honesty with other people.
So how do we articulate that honesty within ourselves?
Within yourself, like to
Yeah.
yourself?
Yes.
You mean
Yes.
like practically speaking, how do you
Yeah.
articulate it? Well, I would say
Yes.
that, I mean, there's all kinds of ways. You can take an inventory, you can write it out. You know, I know like there's people like Dr. Jordan Peterson has a self-authoring program, and I actually tried it and it's really cool. And I haven't finished it yet, but part of it is writing out your past, writing out your present, writing out your future. And it really causes you to learn how to articulate who you are, you know, and be honest about who you are, which is important, you know, however you can do it. You can do video diaries, whatever. Just start to really form your likes and your dislikes,
It's
you
it's
know?
it's like healing, right? It's like healing and understanding yourself.
Right, right.
Kevin, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that even when you heal, you would know if you've completely. I think healing personally is a journey, but you cannot ever come up and say I've healed, because once you feel like you feel and you put yourself out there, you won't know how much you've healed until you are in a relationship. Because once you are, whether it's dating, whether it's casual, whether it's serious, you won't know your triggers till you're with another person.
Right. You know, one of the things that I try to help people to do is to not, when it comes to triggers, right? I think that the more honest you are in life and the more authentic, you won't have very many hidden triggers that you have to, you know, that narcissistic people, for example, find, because you'll wear your triggers. Your triggers are, from my perspective at least, triggers become your boundaries. They should. Triggers should become boundaries. So let's say, for example, you don't like being around people who are, I don't know, foul-mouthed, aggressive men. You know, the type of guys that are like, you know, F this and F these people. You know what I mean? These types of
Yeah.
macho whatever, right? So maybe it triggers you. Maybe you're in a relationship and you're being talked to like that in the past. It triggers you. You're like, it triggers me. It hurts and I feel threatened by it, right? So it's a trigger. So instead of just leaving it there, that needs to come out to the front of your life. And instead of being a trigger, now it's a boundary. So now you're wearing that as a boundary. And so you come across and you're dating and you come across a guy that's, you know, you're going for a walk and he's F that person over there. You think you're like, whoa. All right, you just crossed a boundary. I'm not messing around with people who talk about other people like that.
Right.
I don't care. I don't care what you think of them. Okay, that says a lot about you. I'm right. So now it's a boundary. And here's the deal. Will you upset people with your boundaries? Will you disappoint them? Yeah, but so what?
Mm.
The people you upset with your boundaries are people you don't need to be with, right?
Mm.
But as long as you're honest and authentic with who you are, you'll make sure that the people who aren't for you aren't in your life, and you'll reserve your space for people who are for you.
Mm. So, here's the trick. I've heard this a lot, and people say, well, this, like you said, it's a trigger for me, right? You tell this man, whoa, this is a trigger for me, and this man says, okay, well, this is who I am. This is the way I am. You don't like it? Tough luck.
Yeah,
Then, then does that mean that you walk away, or you?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, why would you mess around? So you notice something about a person and they're like, well, this is who I am. I mean, who cares what they think about if this is who they are? I mean, more the reason for you to say, okay, this is not for me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Listen, I was dealing with this nonsense back years ago with a family, within a family dynamic. It was the narcissistic abuse that I experienced. And what I discovered was with these family members, because I was being cussed at, called names by these people, you know, effing, this is how they talk. Effing idiot. You effing stupid. What's wrong with you? Mother effer. And I'm like, I wasted my time continuously saying, listen, I don't like the cussing. I don't like that. And they were even telling me, this is who I am. And then they would, and this is what narcissistic people, when you're with these people, this is what they do. This is who I am. I can't believe how ignorant you are. This is who I am. And constant. So it took me a long time to realize that. And this is where we formulate that saying, when people show you who they are, believe them. So when this happens, it's not my place to tell them, well, you have to change for me. It's my place to say, okay, it's who you are. Okay, all right. See, I'll keep you over here. That's our right. People have a right to be whatever they want. You have the right to either associate with them or not. And when you're dating, this becomes very important. If somebody's doing something that you don't like and their attitude is, this is who I am, you're stuck with it. It's like,
With it.
no, I'm
Yeah.
not stuck. I'm not stuck with anything. I'm giving you an opportunity to see if we are a good match. And if we're not,
Interesting. I love the way you said. I had this lady who reached out to me, and she is like, she's dating a guy, and she had this question, and she said, I'm talking to this guy, he's really nice, we've connected, blah blah blah, the chemistry's good, everything. And he said this line, and it triggered me, and it went like, he just told me that he's very organized. And I got triggered, and I said, what triggered you with that sentence? And she said, in my previous relationship, my boyfriend didn't like that I was not organized. He was very organized, and he would always call me out for being messy and dirty. And now this new guy is very nice, everything's going good. And all of a sudden, we're just talking, sharing things about who we are. And he says, I'm very organized. And she said, I got triggered and I shut down. What am I supposed to do? I told her that you need to reach out and tell this person that this is my trigger and this is where it's coming from. And if all is going well so far, I think he would understand where you're coming from.
yeah,
And of course, maybe this guy won't call you out. This is not the same guy. Maybe this call is not going to call you out and treat you like that. So the trigger stays there, but you don't associate the person with the other person. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that in a situation like that, if she's triggered because he says he's organized, if it's about communication. If she can say, hey, I'm not that organized of a person, you know what I mean? But again, these are kind of issues depending on the type of relationship you're looking for, right? So, I mean, think about this. If you have a very organized person and a very disorganized person trying to make a life together, well, I mean, it's going to be brutal, right? I mean, there's going to be that constant tension. Yes. Why are you so messy? Why are you unorganized? And so you should also tell your friend, well, take it into consideration. He told you a piece about who he is. Well, observe it. If he's organized, but he's not so caring if you are or not, like it's okay, then okay, let it play out, see what happens. But if he's starting to make comments to you that you need to change, well, then, and it's not who you are, you're not, that's not a part of, you know what I mean? Because there's some things we can get better on. So maybe ask your friend this, well, look, is organization something you desire? Even, right? This is a part of being honest. If you desire to be more organized, then by all means, maybe this dude can help you. But if it's not something you really care about, then pay attention to how he treats you in regards to it, you know, because you don't.
I told her, Kevin. I told her that you need to uh, say it to him and tell him where it's coming from. And like you said, I said, ask him. Okay, if I'm messy and if I make a mess when you guys living in or when you're dating or when you're together, would it bother him? Say that I'm messy and I throw my stuff on the chair, for example. Would that bother you? Are you going to call me out? Because if you are, then guess what? I am messy and it's not going to work out because you will always and constantly be fighting about it.
Bingo. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Say I am.
Yeah.
I'm messy. I like being messy, you know,
Exactly.
sometimes. So, and then it's about seeing then, okay, well, how is that going to play out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right. Kevin, well, what I'm really getting from, even with the little bit we've really spoken, is that the lack in the dating world and in general in relationships, people are using more people stay single. The ones who are dating in the dating world are not happy. The ones that are married are not happy. I think it all sums down to coming to one basic thing, and that is that we're not being honest to ourselves, and that is causing us to have the lack of correct communication with our partners.
Bingo.
Right.
Bingo.
How do you solve that? How do you bridge that gap now?
Become more honest people. You know, look,
Right.
if you're I'm a flirt by nature.
Mm-hmm.
I like to flirt. And the reason it's fun, it's encouraging, it's uplifting. And if I can make
Right.
you feel good by telling you how beautiful you are, right,
Mm.
or whatever, and I like it, feels good. That's just a part of what I like to do. I like to feel good with people, and so, you know. But even with that, let's say my flirtatious nature maybe rubs someone the wrong way. It's like, okay, I've got a boundary here, right?
Mm.
That's a little bit much.
Mm.
So, you know, I can dial it back a bit, but then
Mm.
I would still have to say, hey, but I'm still a flirt. So that type of stuff's going to come out. So then you know what I mean? So I have to be honest with anybody I'm with. So say, this is part of my nature. I'm a flirt. You know what I mean? And that person has to be, you know what? I'm kind of flirtatious too.
Mm.
So I get it. Right. And, you know,
Right.
as opposed to, well, no, I'm not down with that. I don't like it. People are just flirting or socially or whatever.
Mm.
So it really is just a matter of being able to be honest. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So that we're putting who we are up front, and even the things that we don't like that other people do. Like for me, you know, so I'm honest that, okay, I like to be a flirt. Another thing that I'm more honest about now than I ever was is I don't like to be around people who are loud and cussing, you know, the cussing, the sailor type, the aggressive, loud name calling. And I get it. There's a place for that. There's people that are like that. Fine. I'm not. So why am I going to sit around and hang out with those people? You know what I mean? For a long
Right.
time. I can visit them. I can associate with them short term, but I would not have an intimate relationship because our differences are going to come out. And if I'm in there long enough to form intimacy and it starts to hurt me, well, shame on me. Shame on me for stepping outside of my truth and my honesty to try to force myself to be with something that makes me uncomfortable.
Mm.
Right?
Right. That really makes sense. So, Kevin, I guess before we even step into, since we are just talking about dating right now, before we even step into the dating world, I think the first thing everyone needs to know and do is to know who they truly are and know what they want when they're
Yes.
stepping into the dating world.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And once once that's established, once a person knows what they want, and now they're in the dating world, uh, do you think this with one person and there's this instant chemistry or a connection or the vibe, do you think they should restrict themselves with only this one person, male and female for both parties, or do you think they should speak to many and see how things work out with different
So
people?
that's a good question. And it depends on where you're at in the dating, right? So, like I tell people, look, again, it comes down to what you're looking for, obviously, right? There are people who sleep around because they don't want a commitment. They just want to go out there and have all kinds of experiences, whatever. There are people who are looking for a committed relationship. Okay. So in these types of situations, if you want to commit a relationship, that doesn't mean you have to find the first person and commit to them. What it means is you have to dial back and hold off on certain things that you would consider worthy of a commitment, like sex, for example. Okay. So you have to delay sex, put sex on the side. And if this is what you're looking for, a long-term relationship, and you're doing it through coffee dates, or even getting drinks, wine dates, dinner dates, friends, you can do this with as many people as you want, because you're not doing what you reserve for a commitment yet, right? You're
Right.
holding off on that, and it's like you're friend zoning everybody. And out of friend zoning everybody, you'll be able to decide who gets to take that step closer. Okay. So you obviously want to reserve what you feel is worthy of a commitment. You want to reserve that for the one that you truly believe a commitment can exist.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And do you
And
think?
a lot of people have that backwards, right? So a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to date. I'm not going to get to know the person. I'm going to sleep with the person instead, because I think that's getting to know the person, and it's not. It's just getting bent over and whatever for a while, right? Having a good time. And
Right.
then you're like, okay, well, we're committed. And then you don't talk to anybody else. And then you find out that the person's not what you want. And it's just a mess that way. So that's why I think it's better to just date, coffee, get to know, hold off on your desires, find other ways to satisfy what you need to get satisfied, long enough to reserve that for the person who deserves it.
And why people mess that up? Why do people think that having sex is going to get us closer or get us in a commitment? Why do people mix that up?
That is a great question, because sex does not equal a commitment. It doesn't,
Right.
practically speaking. So it's like, I mean, look, the reality of the world is that things like strip clubs exist, massage parlors exist, prostitution exists, all these forms of sexual engagement. And the reason is because sex can be had with nothing else involved. It can. Okay. And people are up against that, which causes them to rush. And it causes the reverse. It's like, okay, well, we need to have sex so I can make this relationship mine. You really want to find out first who they are and if you're a match, right? Because I hope this makes sense, what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's very complex as to why people have confused sex for the first and foremost thing that helps launch a relationship into commitment, when in fact it's not at all. As a matter of fact, most people who get involved sexually early on absolutely fail. It's a failed relationship,
Really? How come?
because they have sex and they realize, well, that was good, that was interesting, and then they get to know the person and they're like, well, I don't even really like you.
Mm.
I mean, and that's it, because I don't like you because of this. I didn't know you talked to people like that. I didn't know
Mm,
that you were this messy. I didn't know
mm,
you were this clean. I didn't
mm,
know that you were that. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. All the things that you should observe when you're sipping coffee and getting to know each other. And
mm,
so now you're left trying to sort all that stuff out that you really don't like.
mm,
And it's heartbreaking. It's
mm,
because you when you have sex with somebody, you've projected all this stuff onto them that you wish they could be, that you want them to be. It's the
mm.
way you see them in your mind. And
Yeah,
that's the other thing with sex too. What sex does is, because sex feels so good, right? It feels
right.
good. It causes your mind to make up the best things in the world about that person, most of which don't even exist.
True. Mm,
So this is why it's better to first find all the things that make the person great,
mm,
and then use sex as just as the reward for celebrating that relationship.
mm. Makes absolutely. I heard this lady, she's in her 50s, and she said, I know who I am, I know what I want, and I put everything correct on my dating app. I put myself out there, and I did everything by the book, blah, blah, blah. And even then, it's the same. Men know how to manipulate, men know how to use you, men are good with words, blah, blah, blah. They fool you, and whether you know in 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years, it's still a heartbreak. So I don't know what's wrong. What would you say to her now? I hope she's listening right now.
To the 50-year-old who's tired of men using them and abusing them, listen, I would say the same thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
If men are constantly using you, if you're putting yourself out there in that way and they're using you, it's because you're not being honest with who you are and what you want. And not
Mm.
only that, but I would speak this, and this is, by the way, so I have a new, you know, Barely Healing, which is a new thing I'm working on, which is just going to be intimately, and it's for women only. And so
Yes.
part of my hopes and my goals with just talking to women in a very caressing and loving way is to help them start to form and understand better their beauty, their power, as far as in relationships, and a lot of basic fundamental values that they have. So for
Right.
example, I would tell a 50-year-old woman, this 50-year-old woman, look, yes, all men want sex, all men want nurturing. And there's
Right.
reasons for this, right? There's biological reasons for this. So real quickly, I'll tell you one of the biological reasons I believe is that as human beings, we have this first experience in life, and it's through childbirth, where we are basically, it's a very traumatic experience, right? We're comfortable, we're forming in the womb, and I do believe we're old enough, even in the belly, to remember things. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We're comfortable, we're in a safe place, and then all of a sudden we're pushed out in this
Mm.
very chaotic experience. Baby's crying, baby's fussing, right? That
Mm.
first comfort that is ever experienced by a baby is being held in the mother's arms, right?
Mm.
Right up against her chest, skin to skin contact. And it's there
Yes.
that the baby's able to go back to sleep, right?
Mm.
So I believe part of the power of being a woman in this life is that if you understand something, that men, all people, right, but men in particularly are looking for that place again. They're looking to find that embrace, that safety. They're looking to be able to find that chest to rest up again in this chaotic world, right? So there's this biological calling, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to find that place of safety. So it really comes down to, as a woman, and I would tell this 50-year-old woman that look, you're already wanted, you're desired. You're desired in this world. You're sought
Mm.
after because you're the comfort, you're the peace, you're the nurturing. So know that, but you carry the burden of carefully choosing who deserves you, who
Mm.
deserves to rest on you. And if you're still messing around saying, guys just want this, blah, 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 you're not doing a very good job of picking out, well, who deserves you? Who deserves it?
Mm.
If you're gonna, you can let any bum in. and any
Mm.
bum will occupy that space, and you're
Right.
always going to be left feeling shitty. Excuse my language.
No, no.
You're gonna feel used, and you're gonna feel shitty because you're bringing in bums who aren't earning that right through chaos or through whatever to be embraced by you. And
Mm.
so it's very hard to, and so that's what I would tell her. I would say, listen, at some points, yes. And all men do share these things in common. It doesn't matter if it's an outlaw biker or if it's a pastor of a church.
Okay.
They're looking for that safe place. They're also looking for, sex and things like that. So it really does come down to, okay, but you have to sort out what you want and then make sure you're dating for that, you're looking for that, and you're not just giving in to whomever's coming for you right
Mm.
away. Hope that makes sense. If
Yes,
she's
yes, that,
watching, I hope it makes sense to you.
yeah, yeah. I hope she is watching. She does. Just send us a comment. Okay, Kevs. So, again, it's all about knowing who you are before you put yourself out there. And once you are, you effectively communicate what you're looking for, and always um, stay open. Do you think it's okay to be vulnerable in the dating world, or no? To
To be
be
what? I'm sorry?
vulnerable, to being open to being vulnerable in a dating world.
What does that mean?
That means like, how should I put it? Like having your armor down. Like, you know what I'm saying? No, you're not getting it.
No, had to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Do you,
absolutely.
but do you think it's okay? Because now when you do that, you will come across a lot of people who are gonna hurt you doing that. Knowing that you're vulnerable, they're gonna use that against you.
Yeah, I mean, but again, remember what we were talking about? Triggers, right?
Yes.
So if you
Right.
keep triggers buried, then yeah, you're going to get hurt. Not triggers are buried things, buried dishonest truths about you that you
Mm.
let narcissists find and start poking. But if you bring these things to the front, really you can be as vulnerable as you want. You can be
Mm.
vulnerable and you can say things and then but again, observe, and if they're crossing certain lines, it's up to you to respond and react to that. And in a way that's like, no, you know what I mean? I think that, and it's interesting. Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind my asking for your listeners. What do you mean about vulnerability? What does this even look like to you? What does
Can I?
vulnerability look like to you? Yeah.
I think it's being yourself without feeling that you're gonna be judged. So just really being raw and being real.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's being honest.
Hmm.
See, so being vulnerable and being honest are the same thing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, you do this confident, you do it confidently, knowing that, and then here's the thing, the caveat, if you will, right? You're going to be vulnerable in life and you're going to be honest. You're going to come across people who aren't going to get it. You're going to come across people who, you know what I mean? They're not going to get it. They're not going to get your vulnerability. Okay, so fine. You want that. You want
Yeah.
these people to see your vulnerability, to see your authenticity, and you want them to
Mm.
to be honest themselves so that you can
Mm.
say, aha, you're not the person that I thought you were. So
Right.
vulnerability, your honesty, your authenticity, that is a tool that you have to use to find who's really going to be a good match for you in this life.
Mm. Oh, that's so good. Because this is so good. Because Kevin, you always hear about this thing that being vulnerable is not good, it's not safe. Always keep your armor on and stuff like that. So I think from what I'm gathering with what you said so perfectly said is bring your armor down, Be as vulnerable as you can, because that is going to show you who you're going to keep and who you're going to throw out.
Bingo.
Yay.
Yes.
I love, because we've always heard that no, don't be vulnerable, stay
Sure.
strong, that kind of mindset.
And which is why a lot of relationships fail, because you're then being fake.
Mm.
You're being fake. If you're going into relationships and you're like, well, I've got these walls up, so I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to be me. Well, then what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like you're not even giving them a chance to know you. You're not getting to know them. If you want to get to know who people really are, then really be yourself. The best way to find out, the best way, because this is a question everybody says, is like, well, how do you figure out who another person is that you're dating? How do you really get to know them? How do you know they're
Right.
not lying? Right?
Yeah. Right.
The answer to that is be really who you are. If
Mm.
you are honestly and authentically who you are, then it will automatically reveal who they are.
Mm. Good or bad, right?
Good or bad. So
Mm.
their response to you and who you are will tell you everything you need to know about who they are in that. I love your smile. I love your
Thank you.
smile.
Absolutely.
Your smile just melts me. It just melts me.
Thank you. That is so cool. It's instead of being scared of showing ourselves for who we are, because, oh, what if he judges me, what if he doesn't like that, what if he thinks I'm too irritating, or I'm too bossy, or I'm complaining all the time. You just show up as who you are, and they will show up exactly who they are, because if they don't like that, they'll just say it to you, right?
Bingo, bingo. No, that's a good point. Listen. Let's say you are, and it's not even a negative thing, but let's say you have a tendency to complain, right, about stuff. One of the things you might be afraid of in this, and because to you it's your way of expressing certain things,
Mm.
right? So,
Right.
I mean, it doesn't mean you want to go overboard and with it, but authentically within your own parameters of who you are, complain about stuff, express yourself,
Mm.
right? Because you need to find out in a long-term committed relationship who's going to be cool with you and in your ways of expressing yourself,
Right.
right?
Mm.
And listen, if they are going to deserve you, if they're going to
Mm.
deserve your body, if they're going to deserve your love, if they're going to deserve all these wonderful things about you, well, then they're going to have to take your complaining along with it.
Mm.
It's all part of the package. And so again, it's not about shutting out pieces of yourself
Mm.
because you think that only this part of you is good and that part of you is bad. No,
Mm.
it's about you accepting all things about yourself, and there's nothing wrong with saying I'm an excellent lover.
Mm.
I promise you that I'm an excellent cook, and I'm a
Mm.
little bit of a complainer.
Mm.
If you can hang with me,
Mm.
then I will frickin' rock your world, right?
Right. I like how you said that.
So,
I
and
loved it.
this is how you find, and I believe this is how, if we're honest in these ways, we'll find our good matches in life, and we won't spend our lives trying to change each other, because
Mm.
there'll be an acceptance already, and it will be
Mm.
peaceful. Relationships are hard already. There's always going to be little bickers. There's always going to be little arguments. There's always going to be those types of things, but you want to make sure at the very least you're not uncomfortable with who each other really is.
Mm. So one thing I'm wondering, so I'm gonna throw it out there, is then do you think that you being yourself and everything, then the relationship should flow naturally, right? But then there's this thing that, well, in my culture I've always heard, is the word compromise, right? Where does that fall in a healthy relationship? Not in an unhealthy one. In an unhealthy one, we all know how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that compromising is a form of, if you're in a relationship already and you find stuff that you start to have to compromise on, you probably didn't, in key areas, then you probably didn't spend long enough. You didn't get to know them well enough, right? Because at some point in a healthy relationship, it's not about compromising. You know, compromising in a healthy relationship should look like this. Well, we both like to travel. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
where do you want to travel to? Well, I want to go to Hawaii. Well, I want to go to London.
Right.
Okay. Well, shoot. Well, let's compromise. This year we'll go to Hawaii. Next year we'll go to London. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Or last time you got to pick where to go, so let me pick where to go. That's compromising. But if it comes down to something like, okay, where are we going to go? Well, you know, I don't like to go out anywhere. I like to stay at home. Come on, you've got to compromise with me. We're at home all the time. You know, I need to travel. Well, no, you got to compromise with me. You know, I'm a homebody. You know, I like to stay at home. I don't want to go out there. It's scary out there. So do you see the difference? And the second example, the two people share the key thing in common, which is we like to travel. So the only thing you really need to compromise on is where.
Where.
That's an okay compromise. But in the second example, one likes to get out and one doesn't at all. You should not have to compromise in that. That's going to be that's a difficult. That creates a very difficult dilemma. That really, because then
there's a friction.
The one compromising in the second example is doing so grudgingly. You know, so suddenly, let's say you get, okay, the person who likes to stay at home says, all right, fine, I'll compromise with you. We'll go to Hawaii. You go to Hawaii, they're miserable. You're having fun by yourself, and you have it in your mind and you're questioning, why can't we have fun? Why aren't we going to the luau's? Why aren't we drinking wine and having all kinds of sex with the window open in the hotel room overlooking the ocean? Why am I here and this person doesn't want to do anything? They're just sad. Because that's too much of a compromise. That's you know, again, these are the things you want to sort out. And that's why I think that the key things in life should not be compromised. When it comes to your key things, who you are, there should be no compromising. If you're an outdoors person, you have no business compromising with an indoor person. If you are, you know, if you're someone, well, we can go on and on, but I think you get the point.
Yes, absolutely. I think that just brings me to one thing, is that, and I've spoken about it a couple of times, is that this mindset that we've had around the fact that opposites attract. I don't think so. That's true. I think that's loads of rubbish.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
Because I was
messed people up.
Yes. And I think we've learned that from Hollywood, but
sure,
classic movies, all the love stories and whatever. But I was having this conversation, I think a year ago, and I just started wondering that how can opposites attract? Like, how will that work? Because when we go out and we're trying to make friends, we always look for similarities. We never look for, oh, this guy or this girl is opposite, I want to be their friend. No, we never do that. That's why the friendship flows. So in a relationship, when you are trying to get attracted to somebody who's total opposite of who you are, there is always going to be that friction in the relationship.
Always.
And the foundation is going to be really weak.
Constant compromising.
Constant over compromising.
And you lose who you are.
Yes.
So I mean, and this by the way is a toxic relationship.
Yes.
And it always results in narcissistic abuse.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
Going for that opposite.
Yeah. So I'm going to have one last question and we'll wrap it up, because I really want to ask you this. The part of the world I live in, okay, It's a heavy patriarchal culture, and men on my part of the world feel that they're entitled, and they're raised in a way that they're entitled, feeling that they could do anything and get away with it. Okay, in such a mindset where you're raising men like this, are you ever going to find a good man?
I believe so. Absolutely.
How? How?
With that smile, it shouldn't be too hard, right? Um, you know, it, culturally entitled, whatever, it doesn't matter because everybody's individuals.
Okay.
Okay. So this is an understanding we have to have, that one of the misconceptions we have about people in general is that we're all the same. We're not. I for those who follow the Royal We, which I know I'm here promoting Barely Healing, but for those who follow the Royal We, I typically refer and I talk to people, I compare them to animals. You have your bears, you have your wolves, you have your sheep, you have your rats, you have your snakes, and so even in a culture where things seem one way, entitled, you're going to be able to, you have the different inherent souls. You
Mm,
just have to, through the things we're talking about and through observation, you have to find them, and
mm,
you will,
yeah,
they do
mm.
exist, they
Okay.
exist, right? And so but again, that's what the dating is all about. When you
Mm,
know what you are, what you know what you're looking for, and you're able to have the discipline yourself to withhold certain things, and then you start to date different people, and then you'll find who deserves the parts of you that you're delaying,
mm.
right? And
Right.
yeah, and I think you can definitely find somebody, even in a culture of entitled people, you'll find the person that is your match. I believe that.
Mm. All right. Yeah. Kevin, let's talk about barely healing. Speak about that. What inspired you to do that? What is it all about?
Yeah, so Barely Healing, first of all, like I said before, one of the things that I've had to discover about myself is I'm very flirtatious. I like flirtation. I love sensuality. I really do. As a male, I do. I like it. I'm an affectionate person, and I reached this point where I'm like, I don't want to not be that, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but primarily it's, I also recognize this aspect too. I've been doing the Royal We, for those who know about the Royal We, for a long time. It's
Mm,
predominantly women that gravitated towards that because of this message. And I
mm,
realized a long time ago that there's a lot of loneliness, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of misconception. And there's a lot of, like, women, for example, I've seen they go for the bad boy types and the hurtful and the abusive types because they feel like sensuality or affection only exists there. So one of the things I'm doing with Barely Healing is I'm bringing affection and sensuality in a way, in a healing, soothing way, showing that
mm,
no, it doesn't just exist in with abusive personalities, not at all, right?
mm,
That and hopefully inspire confidence,
mm,
and spend time with people who are lonely and hurting in a way that's vulnerable, helping
mm,
people understand it's okay to be vulnerable. I have no problem lying down naked and talking about vulnerable things. And so with Barely Healing, that's what I'm doing. I'm basically lying down naked and just talking about vulnerable issues and trying to talk about things that are healing. And in a way, it's like pillow talk. It's like having pillow talk. And my goal with
right.
it is to be able to offer advice and to help soothe hurt and pain in a way that's vulnerable, and says it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay for me to be who I am, and you know what I mean, and comfortable. It's okay for you to be who you are, and but still understand what you've experienced, why
Mm,
you were with this hurtful person, why you got hurt in this relationship, and let's speak to that, and let's start to change and help you to get confident and comfortable with who you are. And hopefully, me being comfortable and confident with who I am, it's going to inspire that.
Yes,
And it's
absolutely.
only on, so because of the way it's laid out, it's on OnlyFans, because OnlyFans is the only platform where I, can lay down naked in that way and talk, right? I get banned from YouTube. So I know that, OnlyFans has a stigma of just being a smut site and people having
Mm.
sex on it, but that's not at all what I'm doing. There's no pornography unless you think seeing me partly naked is pornography, but the point is just to be vulnerable and talk.
That sounds really interesting. Kevin, since you have a flirtish nature, what if your
Yeah,
partner says they're not comfortable with that side of you? How would you address that to them?
that's a good question.
Mm,
I think that there would have to be, if it's an inherent part of a person's nature, meaning their
mm,
social way, I think that in a healthy relationship, first of all, it would be accepted and understood, right? In a healthy relationship, someone would be like, I love the flirtation, because that partner would understand the flirtation that you have is a lot of how we play with each other. So I get that.
right,
But I think that there would just need to probably be certain boundaries in place,
right,
around that, but also freedom, because the last thing you want to do in a relationship is put reins around somebody and make them feel like they can't be who they are. You know what I
right,
mean? So
right.
again, a lot of these things should be ironed out before commitment is really solid in a relationship. So if you're dating somebody and you realize they're too much of a flirt, and you know for even like they're too much of a flirt for me, right? It
Mm,
might, I can see where it might get dicey. I might get jealous. Well, then you have to start to say, okay, well, maybe that's, you know maybe
right.
that's not for me.
Mm,
Whereas, somebody might, you might be a person that said, I like it, I can roll with that. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like I said, I'm flirtatious too, and
mm.
I get it. And but again, yeah, I hope that makes sense.
I think it's like you said, in a healthy relationship, it would be accepted. But I think, okay, let's say the person you're dating would say, I'm okay with you being flirtish, and I know that that doesn't mean that you're cheating on me, right? But let's set a boundary on how flirtish you can get and where it would start hurting me if you cross this line. Do you think that would be healthy?
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I
Mm,
mean, sure. So if
right.
you look at,
It's
if
not taking
I
it
would say,
away, but put boundary in place.
so I think yeah, I think that, may I,
Yes.
get into something deep? I
Yes,
think
please.
I think we're gonna get we're gonna give some people headaches here, because we're gonna get real deep. All right.
Like being
Um,
deep.
we're gonna get deep here. Okay, so part of what you're hinting at, like with flirtation, and okay, this, you can flirt this way, but not this, blah blah blah, and it hurting me, blah. Okay, on and on and on. And I get it, but
Mm,
what it speaks to is
mm,
our understanding that there's love is one thing, and if you look at flirtation as being a part of love,
mm,
right? Then,
mm.
as opposed to its own thing, then you're going to think that people are getting a part of what belongs to you, which would make you upset. And so you're like, okay, I don't like you. I know you're a flirt, but I don't like you flirting out there. You're only supposed to flirt with me, and right, because it's mine, because of love. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the deep part here is what I like to remind people is that, so the word love, and it has us all confused in a way. It's a fairly new word. Love is. I know it's in the Bible and all that, but the reality is that word wasn't even used at the time the Bible was written. So in the ancient Greek language and Latin language, they had different words broken up to mean different things. So
Okay.
there's actually, that's where we get things like agape, which is a type of love. It's a type of connection. You have
Uh-huh.
eros, which is a
Okay.
type of connection. And then you have like luda. Luda is a type of connection specifically that is flirtation.
Yes.
So the ancient people understood that you can have luda, flirtation with people, and nothing else. which
Mm.
means you can have a playful, it's almost like playing. It's like kids in a playground
Mm.
playing, right? And that's what flirtation is. It's playing.
Right. Mm.
Going to a dance club, for example, and dancing with somebody, and you may never see them ever again. And it doesn't mean you have sex with them. It doesn't mean you have a commitment with them, but you
Mm.
had a moment of flirtation, of playfulness on the dance floor.
Mm.
That's all it is.
Mm.
So if we learn how to break these things up, instead of saying, well, there's one thing, love, and if you do this, then it's hurting the love.
Mm.
I think if we learn how to break this up in a healthy relationship, here's what you'll understand. In a healthy relationship, you'll understand that you two are one,
Mm.
that at night he's with you, sleeping with you, and
Mm.
that you're eating together and
Mm.
you are sharing each other's bodies with sex. You
Mm.
are right and you're confident in what your relationship is.
Right.
And the act of playfulness out in the world is just that. It's playfulness, it's flirtation. And you won't need to worry about it because that does not connect with what your relationship is and what you're confident in here.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So you have to
Yeah.
almost break these things off from this idea of, well, what about love? If you're flirting out there, then what about love with me? No, you have to, it's a separate thing. So at least that's my perspective of it. I hope that people are able to follow along with that and it doesn't hurt the mind too much because I know it gets deep into different layers here. But I
Yes.
believe that's part of it. If you meet a flirtatious person, but you find that I like the flirtation, but it feels like it's interfering with our love. Well, why?
Mm.
Why?
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Kevin, thank you so much. I learned so much today. This conversation was so good. Um, on a wrap up, final thoughts. What would you like to say to the audience listening to you right now?
Well, look, follow me on Instagram at Barely Healing. There's right now it's just an ad. Really, it's just a platform to get people over to the OnlyFans site. But if you have any questions or comments for me you can leave it for me on Instagram. If there's something that you would like me to talk about, I'll make an OnlyFans video of it.
Mm.
So, but yeah, if you follow me on Instagram at Barely Healing, and if you want to take that leap and go over to Barely Healing OnlyFans, do it. I'm
Uh,
still in the build. I'm still in the building phase, so I'm getting better with the videos, and I'm putting a lot of work into the actual videos and how they look. Um,
mm.
so it's important to me. I'm enjoying it. I'm playing a lot with some of the technical stuff I've learned how to do, lighting and sound, and I'm putting a lot of my knowledge of video making into it. Even though it's very simple, it's very basic. It's just me lying down naked and talking.
Right.
I'm proud because there's a lot of purposeful things that I'm just doing in the shot. So it's cool. I'm enjoying it.
Right, right. So, Kevin, people just go to your page, Barely Healing, and then is there a link there that they can just click and they just go to the
Yeah,
website, or how does?
right. Yeah, it's already on there, and they can go to the link is already on there and everything to OnlyFans. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And if they have any questions, they can just DM you on that page, and you'll just answer that.
Yep. Yeah. Talk to me on Instagram. I love answering questions and talking to people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Kevin. This was an amazing conversation. I've learned a lot. I hope everyone over here has learned a lot. And I hope that the dating world gets better after this conversation for
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.